Last week, UCLA and USC shocked the college football world when they announced they would be leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. This move shook the sport to its core, even more than the Oklahoma-Texas move last summer. Now, the Pac-12 is in a dire position as they try to follow what the Big 12 was able to do and keep their conference together to navigate this crazy time period. But of all the conferences, the Big 12 is lurking in the shadows and could land 4 crucial schools: Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. In this video, I want to go over why these schools fit the Big 12, while also talking about why they may not want to jump over. Disclaimer, I have no connection to these schools, this is just my opinion. Take anything people say with a grain of salt over the next few months because truly, I don't believe anybody knows what's going to happen, except chaos. So let's start off with the Arizona schools, with many people believing they are a package deal. A few weeks back, I went into greater detail on why Arizona made sense jumping to the Big 12, so make sure to check that video out after this. The Wildcats have one of the better basketball programs in the nation and would fit in well with the Big 12 basketball footprint. The Big 12 is a conference that boasts programs such as Baylor, West Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech, among others, and is viewed as a premier basketball league. But this is a football channel, and odds are this would be more driven by football than basketball, even though both sports would benefit. Arizona football could be on the rise with what head coach Jedd Fisch is building. Arizona State's football program, on the other hand, is in a precarious situation with their ongoing NCAA investigation. That being said, both programs have the potential to build up a strong program with the fertile Arizona recruiting grounds. When the Big 12 was looking for their expansion candidates last summer, they looked at media market, historical performance plus stature and revenue sports, undergraduate enrollment and alumni base, academic profile, athletic budget, athletic facilities, history of NCAA infractions, among a few other factors. Both Arizona schools would be viewed as an upgrade for the conference with a lot of these categories. They sit within the Phoenix media market, which ranks 11th nationally. When it comes to enrollment, Arizona has almost 50,000 students according to their university page, while Arizona State has almost 55,000 students enrolled at their Tempe campus. If they are a part of a large migration of Pac-12 teams to the Big 12, they could see a major increase in their television contract revenue. One of the reasons I mentioned why Arizona might not want to move back in that previous video was their links to Southern California. A large sum of their alumni base is located in that area, but with the departure of USC and UCLA, the advantage the Pac-12 had in that area is now gone. There's also been some frustrations with the Pac-12 for both schools linked to the football and basketball postseasons and the lack of success the Pac-12 network has had. So why wouldn't this move make sense? Well, neither school is a major football power, which may hurt their case from the Big 12 perspective, and their travel costs would most likely increase. While football plays once a week, other sports may suffer from extended road trips from playing more games. The Big 12 currently has schools in 6 states. Come 2023, it will be 9 states. According to Arizona Central's Michelle Gardner, one of the nicer things about the Pac-12 as it currently stands is that travel is relatively easy. There are major airports to fly in and out of. For the most part, direct flights are plentiful. The longest trip for the Arizona schools is the Pacific Northwest, and even a flight is less than 3 hours. That won't be the case if they move to the Big 12, with trips that would include West Virginia, Central Florida, and Cincinnati. Some of the minor sports may also need to play in affiliated conferences due to the Big 12 not offering some sports. The Arizona schools will need to look at the benefits each conference offers before they make the decision. Next, I want to talk about Colorado, who left the Big 12 for the Pac-12 over a decade ago and may be doing the walk of shame back to the conference. I mean that in no disrespect. According to Mile High Sports, Colorado left the, and I quote, Texas-run Big 12 for better destinations, better academics, and potentially better rivalries. Not to mention the lucrative promised revenue streams in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 never came through with their promises they made to the Buffaloes from a competitive and financial standpoint. Now with the conference on life support after the departures of USC and UCLA, why would the Buffaloes want to stay? Especially if Oregon and Washington decide to leave. Colorado has been proactive along with the 3 other schools I am talking about in this video, having already set up a meeting with the Big 12. According to Buff Zone, on Tuesday, Chancellor Philip DiStefano and Athletic Director Rick George released a joint statement that said they supported the Pac-12 decision to the media rights negotiation, adding, "We are committed to the Pac-12 conference and look forward to being an active participant in those conversations." That does not mean the Buffs have shut the door on leaving the conference. In fact, on Tuesday evening, the Colorado Board of Regents held a special executive session to discuss the situation. According to Buff Zone sources, officials from athletics and campus educated the regents on the options facing Colorado as it looks to the future, but no action was taken in the meeting. Joe Klatt believes Colorado finds themselves back in the Big 12 when the dust settles, not believing they bring enough value to receive an invite to the Big 10 or SEC. The Big 12 looks like the most stable conference behind the SEC and Big 10, which is wild to say after everything that went down last summer. Colorado is a historically great football program and has come across some hard times in recent years. They sit in the 16th best television market in the nation with Denver and have over 33,000 students enrolled at the Boulder campus. Personally, I think Colorado is an extremely interesting program to keep an eye on. If they land in a conference, I selfishly want it to be the Big 10 to renew the Nebraska-Colorado rivalry, but I just don't think it will happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if it did. If Oregon and Washington decide to stay in the Pac-12, I believe Colorado most likely will stay as well, and the conference will stay together. Part of the draw to the Pac-12 though was the Los Angeles market with their large alumni base there. With USC and UCLA gone, so are the trips to that market. They also risk being stuck in a crumbling conference if they pass on the Big 12. Colorado has a long history with several Big 12 schools including Iowa State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. According to Buff Zone, a move to the Big 12 could also be huge for Colorado in terms of football recruiting. The Buffs already make Texas a priority in recruiting, but the Buffs could be more attractive to prospects that get to watch Colorado play every week. Colorado has options, and if the Big 12 is over them leaving a decade ago, I think you jump at the opportunity to have them back. If Colorado wants stability and control, they should go to the Big 12. If they want to win big, you stay in the Pac-12 and see if the Big 10 or SEC comes calling. If you are a Utah fan, things must be pretty exciting right now. They are one of the hottest programs in the country and their stock couldn't be higher. Right now they are considered a college football playoff dark horse, which could lead to some opportunities to jump conferences if the Pac-12 does come crumbling down. The unknown is how other conferences view their value during this crazy time period. Could they actually be a potential expansion candidate in the Big 10, or are they more likely to end up in the Big 12? Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire writes, the Utah Utes are a hard team to figure out. They have a great football program that is coming off a Pac-12 championship, and they have a solid fan base in a decently sized Salt Lake City market. However, outside of the football team, there isn't much to make money off of. The Utes may not offer enough to the Big 10 to take, but the SEC might be enticed by the football team. In the end, it feels like Utah could end up being a pillar program for a revamped Big 12 Pac-12 merger. When it comes to the SEC, Utah could be a team to watch if the conference wants to expand out west. I think it's more likely the SEC goes after ACC teams instead. One of the things that holds Utah back is their television market, which ranks only 30th nationally. They have an enrollment of almost 35,000 students and are members of the AAU. The most likely landing spot, though, is the Big 12. This move would make sense as the Big 12 is the most stable conference outside the Big 2, member-wise and money-wise. Utah would be intriguing for the Big 12 because they have been so consistent over the past 20 years. If Utah were to move to the Big 12, it would also revive their biggest rivalry game with BYU. With KSL Sports writing, regardless of what your feelings are about the game since both schools went their separate ways sort of in 2011, there's no doubt there's a fire there waiting to be stoked there. Being together in the Big 12 has the opportunity to bring more national attention and relevance to the game, and could be a good replacement for the Red River rivalry that Texas and Oklahoma are taking to the SEC. It could also renew the Utah-TCU rivalry, with KSL going on to say, this was a game that often, along with BYU, determined who was taking the crown in the Mountain West Conference. Granted, Gary Patterson is now gone, but it's hard to believe it would take too much to get both sides fired up again about that game. It'll be interesting to sit back and watch what happens next, but the Utes look to be in a pretty good position. Like with Colorado, it will depend on whether they want to take the stable route or truly bet on themselves. To be honest, I have no idea what's going to happen when it comes to college football realignment, and I think you should take whatever anyone says with a grain of salt, because I don't believe anybody knows anything. The other thing to remember is nothing is impossible during this time period, except true chaos. But what do you think? Where will these Pac-12 schools end up? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, consider checking out some of my other realignment videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.